Look at this frame. I bet none of you know who this frame is. And yes, he is real. I don't even know who this frame is. God damn it, even the developers don't know who this frame is. You know what? Let me look in the in-game files. Maybe we can figure out who he is. It says here his name is Limbo. Weird name. What's good, folks? It's KnightmareFrame here with a new Limbo video. You know what's funny? I thought I never did a Limbo video, but I did. It technically wasn't about Limbo, but it did feature him.
Fortuna's out, ladies and gentlemen. It is amazing, and as you can see, I am in the Christmas spirit. If I fail, you can label me as a fucking pleb, and I don't mind. Which one was I following? Was it this one? No, it was the other one. Ah!
Damn, I sounded so different. In Warframe, there are bad frames that people cope with, but Limbo is a special case. Not only because he's old, but not as old as your mom, it's that he's been in the game for so long and only got a few tweaks rather than a full rework. From being an ultimate nuisance to players, to then getting changed, to getting nerfed because he did a specific singular objective too good and saw a slightly higher usage rate in a short amount of time, to then get that interaction completely gutted.
Limbo Stasis will no longer freeze sentient and amalgam enemies for the full duration of the cast, and instead will receive diminishing returns with each recast of the stasis ability on the same said enemies. CE said this choice was made for two main reasons. One, Limbo Stasis usage makes the gameplay of Scarlet Spear far too trivial, and two, sentients by design have adaptation, and the diminishing returns on recasting adheres to the adaptive nature of the enemy.
And today we take a look at this frame as how he is now, which is not a good place to be. I mean, there are frames like Banshee and Equinox that need a good touch-up, but Limbo needs all the help he can get. And in this video, we'll talk about why. Limbo at his core is a crowd control frame and a utility frame, not initially designed for damage, and his kit made sense for his time. The current game is always moving and shifting. For those who legit don't know this frame, his kit is built entirely around the Rift Plane, a secondary layer of existence that separates entities from the material world, allowing Limbo to freeze time for the enemies, regenerate energy for allies and himself, and grant near total invulnerability to those within his domain, until Overguard is involved. Also, in addition to his Rift Plane mechanic, Limbo doesn't have a traditional role. Instead, his dodge maneuver slides him in and out of the Rift Plane, and anyone who interacts with his little fart cloud that he leaves behind can enter the Rift Plane as well. While he excels in absolute area denial and stationary objective protection, his high-concept mechanics require a steep learning curve and constant situational awareness. His greatest strength is his most controversial trait, because the Rift prevents interactions between planes. An uncoordinated Limbo can inadvertently stop his own teammates from damaging enemies or collecting loot, leading to a polarized reputation where he is often viewed as a troll or a hindrance in public squads. And funny enough, even to himself, especially if you can't distinguish what enemy is in the Rift or not. I mean, he is still okay for Index, but that requires a lot more button pressing. You know, Warframe players don't like button pressing. And right now I'm going to talk about the 5 people who actually play Limbo. They usually use the Rift Torrent Augment build as justification that he is useful, usually stating, hold up, I gotta do this with my glasses. Works better if I do it with the glasses. If you say Limbo is bad, it's because you just can't play him. I've dealt 2 billion damage with him. Man, shut up. Seriously. Doing damage cap isn't anything special, especially in the current state of Warframe. As of update 36, Jade Shadows is where enemies' EHP, effective health pool, drastically changed, especially when you take it into the level cap scenario. or even armor has a cap of 2,700. When you apply debuffs, stack multipliers upon multipliers, achieving high numbers isn't that hard. Sorry, little tangent. Anyway, based on the most recent official usage statistics released in 2025 for the year of 2024, we still don't have like the 2025, 2026 thing yet. So I'm basing off of that. Limbo's pick rate is among the lowest in the game, sitting at a 0.31, and the Prime at 0.37. He sits at the bottom 5 to 10 most underplayed Warframes, often ranked near the other neglected frames like Atlas and Banshee. Yeah, shockingly enough, Limbo has more players than Atlas. But funny enough, Atlas has more videos of him, you know, punching and exploding things. Banshee's definitely someone who I have to talk about in due time. Limbo got a massive wake-up call in the year 2022. The Xmas rework was a massive, soft nerf. Enemies with Overguard are completely immune to Limbo's Stasis, his second ability, and can walk through his Cataclysm, fourth ability, while still blasting at him, effectively negating his primary survival tool. Nullifiers were an issue as well, but recently changed where they don't instantly pop Cataclysm, but still can move around similar to how Xmas would. Another thing, this can either be an issue or not, as it's quite hit or miss, and that's to do with his methodical gameplay, where he needs to do a lot of setup to actually do something useful. As his abilities create a binary combat state, if an enemy is in the rift and a teammate is not, that teammate cannot hurt the enemy. This math puzzle gameplay style is often seen as a nuisance in a game that prizes speed and fluidity. Another thing I get from players is visual clarity. It is notoriously difficult for teammates to distinguish which enemies are currently rifted versus material, and people get really frustrated for this, and I can see why. And unfortunately, he just feels out of place in the current state of Warframe. And that is in fact due to the transition from when crowd control and positioning was important to how now damage and speed is what matters the most. Modern Warframe is filled with CC resistant enemies like Acolytes, Thrax, some random bosses, and overguarded units. Since Limbo's entire kit depends on enemies stopping, he is often a glass cannon with no cannon. I'm not saying he needs to be a nuke frame, it's just he needs something that makes sense and feels good to use. And modern missions are completed at breakneck speeds. Limbo's playstyle, which involves setting up a bubble and waiting, well, is fundamentally at odds with high-speed nuke everything setups like Savagoth, Reap and Sow, Saren, Korra, Mirage, whatever. Anything that can go kabloomy. And when it comes to survivability, new players or even just casual players will look towards superior alternatives. Frames like Revenant with his Mesmer skin or Dante with Overguard that can provide team-wide invulnerability and protection more reliably than Limbo, without the downside of locking enemies behind a dimensional wall. And one more final nail in the coffin, Limbo did have a very niche use case, where he would spam his Cataclysm to break containers, to quickly farm resources. But unfortunately for him, Zaku took that job away from him, as Zaku can do it faster, has more range, and of course a better kit. This is very unfortunate news to those 5 Limbo players. Anyway, this was a short video talking about Limbo and how he definitely needs a rework. I was talking about this very topic on stream one day, and some guy said, I shit you not, verbatim, I don't want Limbo to get reworked, cause then more people would get to play him. If this is how you legitimately think, then with all due respect, uninstall the game. Anyway, what do you guys think? Who would you rather see have a rework first, Limbo or Banshee? Alright folks, that has been it from me. I do hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace.